The Arizona Coyotes have returned the favor to the city of Phoenix just 1 week after Phoenix sued the city of Tempe for the proposed Tempe Entertainment District. Bluebird Development and the Arizona Coyotes have sued Phoenix. We're going to talk about what this means for the project on today's episode of the Locked On Coyotes podcast.
Your Locked On Coyotes, your daily podcast on the Arizona Coyotes, part of the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day.
Welcome to the show, everybody. This is Locked On Coyotes, Arizona's longest-running daily Arizona Coyotes podcast. I'm your host, Robyn Leonio. That's Carl Pavlak right beside me. We got a very interesting show to get on today because Carl, just a week after Phoenix sues Tempe over the Tempe Entertainment District project, the Arizona Coyotes were like, hey, not so fast. We're going to sue you now.
Technically, it is Bluebird Development doing the lawsuit. The
Yes.
Arizona Coyotes TED Development Company. But yeah, it is not too surprising, to be honest, because oftentimes when we see like lawsuits like this, it'll be followed with a countersuit. And Bluebird is alleging that the city of Phoenix is preventing them from properly doing their business, and that's definitely the kind of thing that you sue someone over.
100%. Some of the details about this is, absolutely insane. First of all, let's get into the dollar value of this, Carl. Bluebird Development is suing the city of Phoenix for $2.3 billion.
Yep.
Essentially, the money of the cost it makes to build TED completely, including the infrastructure.
Yeah, so this is not surprising or conspiratorial. I was on Twitter a lot today, and a lot of people were like, "Oh, so they're suing for the cost of building the arena." Yeah, that's how that works.
Yeah, that is how it works.
When you are doing a lawsuit and you are alleging damages, you need to like kind of say what those damages are. You don't make up a number. There's certain things like pain and suffering, like intangible aspects of lawsuits. But for something like this, you're like, this is the deal. You are preventing us from doing this deal. Give us the money that the deal would otherwise make. So yeah, that's why.
Yeah, and it perfectly makes sense, right? Because that's what the Coyotes wanted to build. They wanted this to happen. And you just look at the statements being made, like Javier Gutierrez has been very vocal about what's been going on.
Yeah, it is. It's also, let's say this, a number where if I'm the city of Phoenix and I have any kind of doubt over my standing in the lawsuit and I get hit with a $2.3 billion countersuit, that seems like it'd be like, it would make me hesitate a bit. But you're right. The Coyote statement, Bluebird statement was just absolutely dripping with contempt for the city of Phoenix. I'm not sure if Javier wrote that himself. If he did, kudos to him for channeling that kind of rage. It didn't go down well with the hockey world at large, but it struck a chord, I think, with hockey fans in the valley and hopefully people in Tempe as well.
It has really stirred up conversation.
Yeah.
That's for sure. If you don't know about the election next month, if you didn't know about it like last week or 2 weeks ago, you sure as hell I'm sure know about it now.
Yeah, I mean, because the main article I went for it was on AZ Central. So if you are at least mildly informed
Very
citizen.
trusted source, Arizona
Yeah, yeah.
Republic.
They have a really good breakdown. I honestly really recommend what AZ Central has been doing, covering everything involving the airport and the development. It's not being done through the sports section; it is being done through like the main thing, because this is, going back to what I was saying before.
This is
There's
politics. It's
Yeah,
100% politics.
the
If you
and it's local politics too. There is like, when I read that statement that Bluebird put out, like there was a bunch of people like who are like, sports writers, and they're like, this is a weird thing for someone to say. And I'm like, no, this is the perfect way you communicate to the population of a city whose neighboring city is telling them what they can do.
yeah, and
Like
no,
you
that's
want that
we're
emotional
talking
appeal.
about a a political committee making a statement like that. Now these
Yeah.
now like and when the city of Phoenix sued Tempe, we knew the city of Tempe wasn't going to make a response like a statement like that. That would be outlandish.
Yeah. I mean, we did, and I brought this up because um, I think it was Yahoo Canada like had an article where they pointed out, they're like, why is it referencing a dark money uh, information packet or mail or pamphlet? And I'm like, oh no, there was the mailer that the airport sent out last October. Here's the mayor of Tempe being really pissed about that. That is probably the closest you're going to get to like a city official being angry.
Oh,
Uh,
there is more to that, and I will get to that in a little bit because I do want to touch on that really quick. But why don't we just hear really quick a word from our sponsors on the show before we get to that? And today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. The NBA's playoffs are almost here, and now is the perfect time to download FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook, because new customers getting no sweat first bet up to $1,000. That's bonus bets back if your first bet doesn't win. Just download the FanDuel Sportsbook app. It is safe, secure, and super easy to use. And you can bet on everything from the money line to point scores and threes drained. I know a lot of you Arizona fans, you're going to talk about the Phoenix Suns and see what they're, see what they can do. FanDuel's the place to do it. Plus, FanDuel even lets you combine your bets for a chance at a bigger payout with a same game parlay. So don't miss a chance to get your no sweat first bet up to $1,000 in bonus bets when you go to FanDuel.com/locked on. That's FanDuel.com/locked on to learn more. Make every moment more with FanDuel, an official sports betting partner of the NBA. So, Carl, there was a actually response from a Tempe official after the initial lawsuit from Phoenix, and it was actually from City Council member Randy Keating. Um,
ah,
he's very active on Twitter, by the way. Essentially,
he posted the IGA
yeah.
like
Um,
the full.
Randy Keating also pretty much said like how can you know Tempe residents stand by when they're just getting bullied by another city. Like,
Yeah,
so he's been very vocal.
which is, I think, something that like a lot of people don't understand. If you are listening to this podcast, if you're watching this on YouTube, you're in Arizona, you get the local politics in a way that everyone else does not. Like there are people, I think, who think that the Coyote Stadium is going to be in Phoenix.
Right.
Like, and that's why the cat Bluebird is suing Phoenix, and it's like, no, this is about an airport. I was in a Slack talk, and they're like, wait a minute, the arena is going to be built on a landfill, and I'm like, yeah, that is what the site is now. It's going to be mitigated if the votes happen. Like, so many people do not understand the full extent of what is happening with this, and like they're just getting these flashes, and you know I get it. I occasionally see information about like what's happening with Ottawa's stadium situation. I don't keep a running tally of like what the ongoing political situation is, but people seem to think that you can do that with Arizona.
Yeah, and especially with how complicated it is right now, because there's still a lot of unknowns. There's still an election to be had, which we're
Yes.
just over a month away from. Um, but the lawsuit really puts a focus on it, and you know, I had kind of made a statement to I'm not sure who it was, and I pretty much said when Phoenix sued Tempe, that might have made some actually done the maybe the opposite effect of what Phoenix was trying to do, get more Tempe
Yeah.
voters to say yes. And I think likewise this does the same thing because this really shows that the Coyotes and Bluebird Development really care about this project to get it done.
Yeah.
That they really want to be here in Arizona.
Yeah. If they didn't, they would just like throw their hands up and be like, "We tried. There's a lawsuit. What do you want us to do? We've done all we can." But no, they're fighting. And I mean, looking at what is happening, I mentioned AZ Central. They bring up two specific points. Um, the big standing thing, because we talked a long time ago about the airport basically being okay with this whole situation,
Yeah, absolutely.
sound mitigation, that sort of thing. Sky Harbor wanted two more aspects. They wanted the city of Tempe to approve of the airport's expansion plans, which again says something very important. They're concerned about their expansion and not allow any housing in that area. And it's kind of ridiculous that like the fight over housing and the idea that Tempe is supposed to approve of plans that aren't available yet and just give
Or
the
approve,
city of Phoenix a blank check.
yeah, or approve of plans that could potentially harm Tempe residents. A
Yeah.
longer runway will create lower flying airplanes in other parts of the city as well. This is the biggest thing that they want to do. Essentially, and it's pretty well known that the city of Tempe and Sky Harbor Airport want to completely throw out the IGA. They're
Yeah.
pointing to it so many times. uh, There's been obviously it's been proven wrong, but they pointed to it saying, "Hey, look, the IGA, they want it gone because they want to be able to do their thing."
Which again, I think we've talked about this from the very beginning. Um it is unconscionable to me that Sky Harbor and the city of Phoenix are treating this as an issue with safety or an issue with like the health of the residents when they are only concerned about their own economic well-being. And time and again, we see it where they're just like, if you just give up the IGA, we're fine. We won't stand your way on this. If you just allow us to expand as much as we want, we're fine. Like there are supposed to be like actual barriers to protect people from airplanes and infrastructure. Like this should
That's
be
why
a
the
thing that
IGA
we
was put into place.
yeah, and they should be taking this very seriously. Their first concern should not be the expansion of the airport. It should be the health and safety of the residents of the two cities. And it is not, and I find it just deeply offensive.
Oh, absolutely. And I think that's the biggest thing, and that's what has really gotten what brought so much attention to the initial lawsuit and now to this countersuit. Um, it's really going to make, I think, I'll reiterate what I said earlier. I think it's really going to kind of bring together, like, or just bring to the front this election. Like,
Yeah.
I really hope that it brings out more voters.
It is no longer an issue of do you support this plan? It is do you support this plan And do you want to have control over your own development?
Right.
Phoenix has made it like a rivalry issue. It is reverse psychology, the Streisand effect, whatever it is, both. Like they are putting a target on it in a way that I don't think that they thought was going to be the case. Now, I don't live in Tempe anymore. I do live in Phoenix, so I don't know what it's like on the ground. But I mean, I can only imagine like if Scottsdale tried to tell Phoenix what to do, I'd be like, no way in hell is that happening.
Right. And let's add another aspect to this, right? Even the main opposition to the TED, has they've been clamoring for like affordable housing. The idea of what most Tempe residents want, they want to be able to expand, residential opportunities to
Yeah.
because they want they want to try to bring more residents in. They want to try to expand the city and put a bigger light on it. Tempe Entertainment District does that and then some. Phoenix is really seeing that as a threat.
It is kind of astonishing to me that Tempe first was excited about the Phoenix lawsuit.
Yeah.
Because I'm just like, you realize if it succeeds, you don't get what you want. Like, there's going to be no housing. There's going to be no commercial real estate there. Let's be real. At this time, commercial real estate is a major gamble. Like, no one's
Yep.
sure what return to work is going to be. Work from home seems to be like a big thing. There's a lot of commercial real estate agents who are freaking out every single day. Like, they're not going to build an office complex there.
Oh no.
So you can't build housing, you can't build office, you can't build commercial. Like, what are you going to do with it? Are you going to turn it into a park?
A park's not
Probably
gonna,
not.
like, and you think about it, a park still isn't gonna generate much revenue.
Yeah. I mean, there's like, I'm fine with parks
One
existing
hundred
as
percent.
like a standalone thing. Um,
But
I
on a
like
on a
parks
parcel of land that big,
that you are considering like, what was it? The last prime piece of real estate in the city of Tempe.
it's a landlocked city. They can't go anywhere else.
Yeah. So like, I don't know. Like the idea that there's anyone who in Tempe who wants it to succeed, unless you just don't want housing in there in your city, which is something that I kind of
Yeah.
suspect.
And again, I get the idea of affordable housing. Like, we do
Yeah,
need more affordable housing. In a case of something like this, are you really going to get affordable housing on the bank of the river? I obviously it's the dry side of the river, so there's not really much there, but still, it's a good area. Like, you can't just say, hey, I'm just going to make it affordable housing here.
yeah. It's walking distance from what Tempe Center for the
Yep.
Arts, I think. Very close to the Phoenix Zoo. Um, it's a good spot. I've said before, I used to live like a block east and a block south of there.
Right.
So it's I don't know. It I am glad that they are doing this. I'm glad that Bluebird is not going down without a fight because I find this whole lawsuit from the city of Phoenix and Sky Harbor to be very frustrating. And I do not think it reflects well on the city where I have a home.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't like that. Like I want the city to represent me, not the economic interests of their airport.
100%. We're gonna go wrap things up, get our final thoughts on this show on as the Coyotes and Bluebird Development countersue the city of Phoenix for over the Tempe Entertainment District. We're gonna get to that in just a moment, but first, a quick word from our sponsors on the show.
When you're drafting your fantasy team, do you ever wish that you could handpick the best stars for your business team? if you're building your talent roster, you need Indeed, because Indeed is the hiring platform where you can attract, interview, and hire all in one place. You don't have to spend hours on multiple job sites looking for candidates with the right skills when you can do it all with Indeed. Find top talent fast with Indeed's suite of powerful hiring tools like matching, assessments, and virtual interviews. Hate waiting? Well, Indeed's data shows that 80% of Indeed employers find quality candidates whose resumes on Indeed match their job description the moment they sponsor a job. Indeed is a great place to go. It is definitely one of the places I go whenever I'm looking to, see what's out there for employment. And I get the feeling every time I'm on there that the other side, we're just connecting really well. Now, what I want you to do is go to indeed.com/locked on to start hiring now. Just go indeed.com/locked on. Terms and conditions apply. Cost per application pricing not available for everyone. Need to hire? You need Indeed.
So to put things all together, Carl, um, in your thoughts, what like how does this go down in terms of like because we do have an election coming up. Like you
Yes.
don't think like I have a hard time, believing that you know a lawsuit will be resolved in a month. If it's possible, but
It,
but
it is.
Tempe can choose to approve it, and the lawsuit's still going on. That said, first of all, I believe that, and I think a lot of other people believe. I'm pretty sure you believe this too. Phoenix in itself has very little legal work, like legal leg to stand on. This lawsuit could get could get dragged on, and it just might not be fun. Or it could just be really quick and be like, look, you've got nothing here.
So I saw something interesting. I'm not sure what part, but I think they described the lawsuit as either too soon or too late. Like the fact that the city of Phoenix is bringing this before people have had the chance to vote on it, but after the city council meetings where they had their forum to do it. Like there is definitely technical issues to that. Unfortunately, neither of us are lawyers.
Mm-hmm.
If we were, we would not be doing a sports podcast.
You
We'd
don't know.
be,
You might.
yeah, maybe if we were sports lawyers. But so I don't want to judge it on the merit, but there are technical aspects to something like this. Like this lawsuit is being brought at like a really weird time. Like like you said in the beginning, like if the city of Phoenix thought that this is a way to influence voters, which I think they did, because there are definitely people on the other camp who were like, look, we said that there's going to be lawsuits over this type of thing. Why are we fighting lawsuits? Um, you know, that could be an intimidation factor, but a judge may look at it and be like, nah, that's not going to fly. So I don't know. It does, like, the Phoenix case seems weak to me, but it's weak in the way where it's like, like how things have actually gone is not the way you're saying it should have gone. Why didn't you address 20 years? But that's not how contract law works necessarily.
Right. I just believe both Tempe, Bluebird Development, the Arizona Coyotes need to you know go have what they got, like show what they got. They have like I mean they have the receipts of what they've been working with and their in the negotiation window that they've been having with Phoenix and the airport. Where literally just last month they Javier Gutierrez was like, yeah, the dispute's done, and then
Yeah.
all of a sudden it comes back up.
And all because of, like, again, like I said, it's the city of Phoenix wanting Tempe to not protest the expansion that they do not have plans for. to me, that is like, you know, I'm not a lawyer, I'm not a judge. If you told me that that was one of your conditions, I'd be like, that is a ridiculous claim to
Hmm.
make on someone.
Yeah.
To
Also, the um, it's in Bluebird's statement that they believe on the hypocritical side of Phoenix in their residential and stadium development on their side of
yeah,
the airport.
very true. There is, a lot of development on that end too. Um, it definitely, to me, it says that Phoenix does not treat this seriously. That they are looking only for their future. That they are, honestly, if I'm in Tempe, no matter what the results of this lawsuit, especially in that like North Tempe, South Scottsdale area, I'm
Hmm.
afraid because Sky Harbor is doing something weird, and I don't really like it.
Yeah, exactly. But we'll only like we'll only have to figure out at some point eventually what the the outcome of this lawsuit is. The biggest thing again, Carl, still is the upcoming election.
Yes.
You know, for those that aren't registered to vote yet, I am a firm believer in whether or not you approve, like whether or not you are in opposition or for the project. I'm a firm believer in voting. Um, and I'm a firm believer in voting no matter what. Like even if I disagree with anybody what anybody says, it's like, hey, look, this is your best chance to get your own voice on something. I'm the person that's gonna say, hey, I say like, you know, I live on the border of Mesa and Tempe. Unfortunately, I live on the other side. I cannot vote. If I did, I would be 100% voting in this.
One of my more out there political opinions is I am in favor of compulsory voting, like they have in Australia, where you just have to vote on stuff or you get a small fine. And I do have nuances to that I am happy to discuss with people. But in general, yes, I do think you should be registered to vote. Um, if you are in Tempe, you should absolutely register to vote, and vote however you think is best for this. And for everything else, Arizona, it's very easy to get on the permanent early voting list. I think I have been on there since I graduated high school. I have been kicked off for reasons that were unknown to me, but I always try and get back on there. It is, very important to participate in democracy and making sure that you make your opinion known.
Exactly, and I'm sure it will have some kind of important aspect to it. If, let's say, the city of Tempe overwhelmingly votes in favor of the project, what that means for the lawsuit as well. It could potentially change things. Looking at the look, public opinion has something to say.
Yeah, and if you're a judge who's overseeing this case and you see overwhelming public opinion for something, maybe that influences your decision as well.
Yeah, exactly. And then just a bit. Obviously, you still have to look at the facts. You still have to, take a look at the, all the facts. That's what that's the most important part. But any final thoughts before we close things out?
I do kind of want to point out the fact that for the longest time, everyone thought that the footprint arena was kind of the big reason why Phoenix wouldn't want the Coyotes to have their arena. I do feel that that is the case, but this just reaffirms to me that the airport is also a significant factor, and I think people need to be paying more attention to that and the economic incentives of what the airport clearly wants to do.
Exactly. Well, once again, that's going to be it for today's episode of the Locked On Coyotes podcast. If you like what you heard, don't forget to leave a review, like, comment, subscribe if you have yet to already. We're available everywhere you get your podcast, including on YouTube. Don't forget to interact with us on social media. We're on Facebook, facebook.com/lockedoncoyotes, and on Twitter at LO_Coyotes. I am personally at Robyn_Leonio. Carl Pavlik is at 5 for Howling. Interact with us, ask the question you might have, whether it's about the Arizona Coyotes or the upcoming Tempe Entertainment District election. We'll answer right back or in a future episode of the Locked On Coyotes podcast. Thanks again, everyone, for listening to today's episode. Hope you guys are staying safe out there. Hope you guys are staying healthy. And don't forget to howl on.